You have the live button. There you go,
I got it. Good morning, everybody. Afternoon. We're at afternoon now, aren't we? We are at afternoon. On a Wednesday, after a soul-crushing defeat of the Philadelphia Eagles, as we both predicted.
Soul crushing.
It's soul crushing when you can't get within a field goal of the third worst defense in football. It's soul crushing. What a bad weekend. How you doing, buddy? Talk to me. Tell me what's going on.
Well, bud, I've had a hangover for 3 years now, 4 years.
You starting to sober up finally?
Yeah, Super Bowl hangover just kept rolling in, and I've taken off my sunglasses and popped a couple Advil and decided today's going to be the day that I stop drinking the Kool-Aid of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I stopped that this week before this game. We had conversations, Justin.
Hold up, Ron, before you jump into this, I got to pause you because our boy D just commented. First of all, I would normally ignore that comment, but as we discussed earlier today, and I will get into with you once we talk about this atrocious Eagles team, Doan, there is no more proof other than still trying to play this Baltimore Ravens-Pittsburgh Steelers game. Why aren't we postponed? We'll get into it, but yes, everybody now agrees the NFL is rigged, at least kind of. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, so Justin, we had this spread initially at 5. We picked these games on I think Friday night of this past week. So we used those spreads going into the show. We had to send them to our producer, and he had to get us ready for the show. So, we went with Friday spreads, and I made a comment that there is just no chance that this team was going to come within 5 of the Seattle Seahawks. And barring that last-minute ridiculous, somewhat Hail Mary that was tapped to the ground and then caught off the ground, it shouldn't even have been a 6-point game, but it ended up being a 6-point game. A lot of people got their hearts crushed. I picked the line when it was -5. I lost on the Raiders. I didn't lose on this game, so I was already crushed at that point. But let's go through the Eagles, Justin, because I'm trying to figure out what it is that people are still getting their hopes up for in this season that we've had, and it's the worst collective performances, the worst execution. And I don't know what you thought about this, Justin. I'm going to let you answer this before I go in on my little tirade here. I personally didn't think that Peterson called a horrible offensive game. What did you think about his offensive play calling?
I disagree for one reason and one reason alone, is because while he didn't make all the wrong decisions, he made the wrong decisions for the players that were available to him. And that's why the offense failed the way that it did. So was Doug Peterson better this game than he has been in a handful of the last? Sure. But when we're comparing a 3.5 to a 0, that's 3 times as good. So it's was it good? No. Was it better? Sure. But where's the result? What happened from it? You know what I mean?
Here, and that was kind of where I was going with this, because here's the result in my eyes. We yell at Doug Peterson to run the football more, and that's one of our biggest things, right? We have a running back that's extremely talented, that's proven that he's a 3-down back, averaging almost 6 yards a carry, which I believe was second in the NFL to Kyler Murray. And he got handed the ball a handful of times. Now, I think that had to do with the fact that Jason Peters, again, look, it doesn't matter where you line him up on this offensive line. He looks absolutely horrible. Mailata has been almost, you could say, elite in pass blocking, but I don't think just because he hasn't played NFL football for a while, he really understands the running schemes and how to go about getting off your blocks and getting up to the second level. And then Matt Pryor, I don't know what it is about wanting to get him in the game. We got Jack Driscoll available, who I thought filled in for Lane Johnson earlier this year and did a very good job. And Matt Pryor is god-awful and doesn't stay on his blocks. So if you wanted him to run the football this game, Seattle's rushing defense is actually pretty good. And it just didn't seem like with the offensive line we had put together that we were going to be able to get off the ball. Oh, and by the way, our wide receivers aren't very good at blocking either. So let me go down this list. I have about 15 points, Justin. 15
I'm
points.
lined and numbered. Let's do it.
And I'm going to go slow so you can kind of collectively take these in and give me your feedback on each 5. So the first series of the game, I literally just I was in bed watching the game, and I literally just started laughing because I can't even be mad anymore because I expect it. First drive of the game, Carson Wentz basically draws Seattle offsides. It's 2nd and 5, and he misses a wide open Greg Ward on a slant route 5 yards down the field. He had to throw the ball on a 5-yard slant and threw it about 5 yards in front of him. And I just started laughing. Because I don't know what to say about it anymore. I've defended Carson Wentz through the first half of the season, but these are throws that backups make in their sleep. Okay. Backups make these throws. He underthrew Goddard on 2 deep balls when Goddard had about 1.5 to 2 steps on a linebacker each time. One of them he completely missed on, and one of them Goddard had to come back and try to get the ball. It should have been a touchdown. They ended up drawing a PI, but that's 7 points right there. And almost any starting quarterback in the NFL, maybe aside from Baker Mayfield, makes that throw.
Baker probably makes that throw to OBJ.
Yeah, maybe Lamar Jackson. Lamar might even make that throw to Mark Andrews. He's pretty accurate. There was a screenplay where they couldn't even get the screen off. Jalen Reagor was supposed to be blocking close to the line of scrimmage. He was 20 yards down the field running a route. Carson Wentz can't even get the ball off. Boston Scott can't get off his block, and Wentz ends up getting sacked on the play. Just a mental error by a guy that I know we're high on and should have more production this year. Injury aside, you got to know what the play call is, and you got to be there for your team. There was a sack on Carson Wentz where he was trying to get out of the pocket. Matt Pryor did his job on the right side of the line. Didn't finish his block. Once he thought that Wentz threw the ball, he stopped blocking. Wentz hadn't thrown the ball, and you should know that because you've been playing with Carson Wentz for 12 weeks now. He holds on to the freaking ball sometimes, so you got to stay on. You got to stay on your block. He gets off his block. Wentz tries to scramble. That guy's fucking running around the field because no one's blocking him anymore, and he ends up getting sacked rather than trying to convert a big play. And Jason Peters moved.
Do you need to say anything else, or do you just need to say Jason Peters?
As a guard, okay, pass blocking is much easier. You have help inside usually. You're never usually one-on-one. The center's either helping you on one side or you're helping the right tackle on another side. And, oh, by the way, you've been in the NFL for almost 20 years. You should be able to handle most one-on-one blocks on the inside. 4 pressures, a hit and a sack by Jason Peters at right guard. Probably his second worst performance of the year. And Nate Herbig is sitting on the bench, who was one of the most productive offensive linemen in his time, in his starts earlier this year.
All right. So there are 5, right?
Those are 5. First 5.
Right. So let's go in order. So let's start back with 1.
Okay.
Offside, 2nd and 5, missed Greg Ward by 5 yards. Carson Wentz has the greatest team of attorneys in the history of somebody defending themselves. Because you did, and I defended Carson Wentz a ton in the beginning of the year, but I was out on him before you were, and I get the reasons why you weren't. I understand. I know what we saw. I know what we've seen. I know the potential. I get all of it. But this guy's just a bad quarterback now. I was intending to, at some point in this show, write down the 10 worst quarterbacks in the NFL and ask you one by one, would you take over Carson? And the problem I ran into, Aaron, is all 10 I said yes to. So there's just no point because Carson Wentz is that bad this year. So missing a throw to Greg Ward is unsurprising. This is my beef when I hear people like Anthony Gargano or some of these long-term Philly radio guys that do Philly sports talk about the level of player that's around Carson Wentz. We said this on Sunday. If Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf played for this team right now, they're still terrible because Carson Wentz does not elevate the players around him anymore. Whatever he had left to do that, he wasted at the end of last season, and it's gone. So that's 1. No surprise. Carson Wentz is terrible. 2, the underthrow to Goddard twice. The one thing that you normally don't lose when a quarterback loses his juice is the deep ball. You lose the deep ball when Tom Brady turns 42, when Aaron Rodgers turns 38, when Brett Favre turns 45. That's when you lose a deep ball. especially to a guy like Goddard who is so gifted at getting open down the field as a tight end. Really, all you got to do is not miss him. Get within 5 yards, and he's going to catch that ball, and it's going to be a touchdown. Again, Carson is just terrible. Number 3, the failed screen. This goes directly back to what you asked me to start of Doug Peterson's poor play calls. This is a poor play call for one reason and one reason alone, and it's in the sentence that you asked me, in your question, when you told me that Jalen Reagor missed a block and ran a route instead. If you're trying to tell me that there is a wide receiver screen ran for the Philadelphia Eagles, and the receiving person is anybody other than Jalen Reagor, it's a bad play. It's just a bad play.
Yeah.
Greg Ward doesn't have the speed.
Yeah.
Travis Fulgham doesn't have the speed. Jalen Reagor is supposed to be your Tyreek Hill. Get him the ball and let him make a play. So
yeah, and by the way, real quick, this was supposed to be, I believe, a screen to Boston Scott, and because Reagor didn't stay in, there was it allowed a safety to come down, disrupt the line, and Boston Scott couldn't get off his block quick enough for Wentz to be able to throw the football because they were in the backfield within.
Bro, last winter, when we were with our friend Doan in Bensalem in that store that we worked at together, what did we say then? The screen game to the running backs is stale. It shouldn't exist. You don't run it right, you don't execute it correctly, and you don't have the player. So again, if Miles Sanders isn't the back getting the ball on a screen, I don't want the play. That's just more Doug Peterson nonsense. Number 4. Wentz gets sacked trying to escape because Pryor stopped playing. Again.
This has happened 6 times this year, by the way.
Again. Why is Matt Pryor part of this offensive scheme? The same reason why number 5, Jason Peters at right guard, we'll just cover both of these at once. It's the same concept, and it's the same reason why Jalen Hurts, apparently there was pressure to play him from up top, and Doug didn't, because Howie and Doug are a tandem, and they cannot admit fault. They believed that Pryor was a guy that was Halapoulivaati Vaitai. That's what you got. You remember at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
This is Big V. He can play every position on the offensive line, maybe short of center, but you got Jason Kelce. You'll never need that guy.
He was good at the end of the year last year when he was playing right guard.
So they decided that this was their new Big V. Don't give the guy $50 million. Let him go to Detroit and get overpaid. And now we've got this guy waiting in the wings. When this season started, Big V is Herbig, not Matt Pryor. And Nate Herbig showed you that. He gave you the games. He gave you the plays. He gave you the effort. And Jason Peters, all the same. They do not want to win without their guys. Jalen Hurts isn't not hitting the field. It's the quarterback controversy is a part of it. But the core to that is Carson's their guy. They don't want to win without him again. They already did that. They already saw what Nick Foles brought them, and now they want it with Carson. They want it with their guys. Why is Alshon Jeffrey a part of this team? Because Howie gave him $60 million. So now he's got to be a part of it. And this is, again, from the top to the bottom, from Jeff Lurie through every person in that front office, all the way down to the position coaches. Who is listening to anybody? The answer is clear that it's no one. The answer is clear that this is a team who has decided this is the way. We don't care about the result. We know what we're attempting, and eventually it's going to happen like it did last season and the season prior. And what we're starting to realize is if you put bad talent on the field, you can only overcome so much. And when Carson Wentz is not elevating that bad talent like he hasn't this year, here we are at 3-7-1. That's why we're here.
And really, after watching a couple of these games, I think lucky to be at 3-7-1, by the way.
Absolutely.
So next 5 points for this. And actually, I'm sorry, it looks like I have more than 15, but
27?
There's about 17. I did the amount of points they scored in the game.
It's so bad.
So when we've talked a lot about this year about Wentz's accuracy issues. Carson Wentz threw the ball to Jalen Reagor 7 times. Only 3 of those were considered catchable balls. The obvious one that we talked about post-game, but really was just like you kind of expect this too at this point. Goddard ran the wrong route on the interception that Carson Wentz threw in the end zone to Diggs. He was supposed to go out. He stayed inside. Wentz was outside looking for him. But when you rewatch that play, backup tight end's name, Richard Rodgers, wide open right underneath of Goddard. So he's in the line. It's not like he's on the other side of the field and you just missed him. He's in your line of vision. He's wide open. He's past the first down marker, and you try to throw the route to Goddard, who's not even in position yet. 3 of the sacks that Wentz had he just held on to the ball too long. So we can talk about the fact that there was 6 sacks. I think on at least 3 of those, I was just saying to myself, Bud, that was more than 3.5 seconds. That was 4 or 5 seconds. If you're in the pocket after 3.5 seconds, you need to get the fuck out of the pocket. Seattle, as we know, was on track for having one of the worst passing defenses in history, 344 passing yards per game, and Philadelphia could not move the ball against them. The Eagles put together a 75-yard drive to end the half, Justin. A 75-yard drive to end the half. They finished the half with 74 total yards of offense. Those are the next 5.
Give me a sec. Oh my God. I had hoped that your list started from the worst to get to the best, but it just seems like it degrades from here. Okay. Wentz and Reagor. Carson Wentz doesn't throw many catchable balls. And no. I don't want to discredit the idea that he doesn't trust his receivers, because I do believe that's part of it. I know that we went through the whole Alshon Jeffrey is a fucking rat and talking to people, Josina Anderson and all that shit.
Right.
He did. Right.
He was right.
And I'm cool with that, right? But I also look at who has Carson Wentz developed any type of camaraderie with, and it's nobody. Like we thought last year, because how the season ended, maybe it would be G Ward, right? Yeah. Like that would be his safety blanket going forward on the outside, because it's Zach Ertz on the inside. No, Greg Ward is basically not a part of this offense anymore. Mm-hmm. To have Jalen Reagor was handed a shitty hand. He was dealt probably the worst hand of any first-round wide receiver of this draft. You got to understand, when you look at a guy like Justin Jefferson, we talked about this a little bit on Sunday. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy. You can even go Chase Claypool, right? Because Chase Claypool does one thing. That's what he does, one thing really well. These are all guys that were set in what they do. There wasn't a gigantic ceiling you were looking for. You had a guy that performed right now at something. Jalen Reagor is a guy that's got to build into himself a little bit, because he is of that Tyreek Hill build. And until Tyreek Hill had Patrick Mahomes playing the way he is, Tyreek Hill wasn't who Tyreek Hill is. Jalen Reagor, I feel terrible for. There's no 2 ways about it. He's got
just to mention, Tyreek Hill came into the league and made a Pro Bowl as a special teams return guy, because he's the fastest guy on the field, and you thought maybe getting him a couple touches of the ball might spark his game as a wide receiver.
And we look at the difference between how Andy Reid handles that type of player,
right,
and how Doug Peterson handles that type of player.
The fastest guy on your team right now is Jalen Reagor, and Boston Scott and Greg Ward are the ones returning the punts and the kickoffs.
And they're the guys that are catching the design screens. This is my point. This is why Doug Peterson's the problem. The interception to Goddard, I don't disagree with you. Obviously, Goddard ran the wrong route. But again, when I'm paying you $30+ million to be my quarterback, Kirk Cousins can make more than one read. Baker Mayfield can make more than one read. You don't have to be Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger, but you can't be Jared Goff. Like you have Carson Wentz has so many turnovers this season to my eyeballs, because I watch him game in and game out stare down read one and not be able to adapt thereafter.
Come off it.
He can't see the rest of the field. I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as the motherfucker needs glasses and just refuses to wear them. Who knows why? But all I know is what I see week in and week out, play in and play out, is he stares down read one, and unless the read two is a dump off to Miles Sanders or Boston Scott or Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert 3 yards from the line of scrimmage, there is no other read. You don't have an X and Y receiver. You have one guy running one route, and if it doesn't work, it's a sack or it's a throwaway. And that's the problem there. I don't disagree with you on the number of sacks. I think most of the sacks that Carson Wentz has taken this season are wholly on him. And again, it's because there's no progression as a quarterback. Like, you should be able to feel the pressure in year 5. You should be able to just – Eli Manning migrated out of the pocket. Was Eli Manning athletic? A little bit.
Him and guys that can't move, like Phillip Rivers. I mean, Wentz can move. Another one. Right? But they can dictate the pocket in the pocket. Carson Wentz has never learned to do that.
And again, if you can't dictate the pocket for whatever reason, shift, move your feet a little bit, roll around, just be loose, be more comfortable. He looks uncomfortable. I don't know what the total of the passing yards of this game were. I know they were bad compared to what Seattle was given. How do you not put up 300 yards against his defense? I mean, dude, listen, don't get me wrong. Jamal Adams, I was upset that we didn't go after him because he is a great player. Jamal Adams, I think, had 2 sacks in the 10 minutes that I decided to watch last night.
He's not an elite cover safety. He's in the box.
They don't have one. Yeah, Bobby Wagner's not covering running backs and tight ends. It's a mismatch every time.
Yeah,
KJ Wright, it's all the same. How you didn't perform better is mind blowing. And I think the most lame duck statistic that you're probably going to continue to elaborate on this list is the last one you just gave me. You had a 75-yard drive to end a half and went into halftime with 74 total yards of offense. And this is where the problem lies. Chip Kelly did not value time of possession. Chip Kelly cared about scoring points, right? I.e. the Doc Rivers, put the ball in the bucket, get more points than the other team, just outrun them. Doug Peterson does not value time of possession and also doesn't value yardage and points. It's like Doug Peterson is trying to get fired. It's like he wants to escape this place because he's painted himself into a corner with a quarterback that he no longer believes in. I think that is part of that problem. And again, man, this wasn't Pittsburgh, who's 10-0. This was Seattle, whose record is a little bit better than what they actually are and has the worst passing defense in almost the history of football. And you lay that kind of an egg. I just don't understand it, dude.
Yeah, just to elaborate, as you said I was going to, and these are actually 2 of the points, so it kind of takes them off the list for me. Those 74 yards were less than in the first half for the Eagles, were less than what the Broncos had in the first half of their game without a quarterback. The Eagles had negative 4 yards in the first quarter, matching the worst quarter in 30 years other than a game in 2018 that was also coached by Doug Peterson. The Eagles had 9 points until the Hail Mary with 12 seconds left. 9 points against a team that gives up almost 350 yards of passing offense a game. They were 3 and out on the first 5 drives of the game. Couldn't even establish what their game plan was for the entire week. Justin, the first drive of the game is scripted. Every single week, you try to get out, get one up on the other team, score first. There's some type of percentage of wins. A team that scores first has a higher than, I think, 60% chance to win the football game. They were 3 and out on the first 5 drives. The first one was so atrocious with that slant. That's just to build off that. Jordan Mailata, here's a good one for you, bud.
Oh, God, positivity?
Yeah. But that it's what pisses me off about the past 2 weeks. Like, we've been talking about this. Mailata was the 5th-ranked O-lineman in the NFL this week. He was the 2nd-ranked tackle in the NFL this week. This is the first time this guy's ever played football, and you sat him the last 2 weeks to continue to play Jason Peters. This guy's done nothing other than this all year. There's not been a really bad – like, he had one game that just wasn't as good. He let a couple guys – but overall –
his bad game is all pro level compared to Jason Peters' best game. That's right what the problem is.
Correct. Last thing I want to end on. The Eagles are 8th in the NFL in passing attempts. They're 31st in yards per pass play. They are 28th in the NFL in rushing attempts, and they are third in the NFL in run plays. And still, we do not run the football. Now, tell me why immediately my mind, because I wrote this right under this, my mind goes to just fire Doug and give Deuce Staley his opportunity at head coach right now. The guy that's been in this team for decades, has played under Andy Reid, has coached under Doug Peterson. Give him the reins and see how he finishes off the season, see how the guys play for him, and let him establish the run for your offense.
So let me cover the first couple real fast because I think that's important to talk about what you just said, Deuce Staley specifically, because I actually had a conversation about this yesterday. 9 points until the Hail Mary. This Philadelphia Eagles. This is the 2020 Eagles. They cannot score to save their lives, period. They cannot put the ball in the end zone. They just don't do it. And again, unsurprising. What did we say on Sunday? We said that 5 points wasn't close to enough. It should have been 10. Yeah. And sans a Hail Mary, where the Seattle defense is bad, and they gave up because they had the game in hand. There was no doubt about it. They just stopped defending the play. So give them the trash points. Fuck the guys that bet this.
It's 11-point win. It was an easy double-digit win.
Exactly. 3 and out on the first 5 drives. Again, who do we point to other than Doug Peterson? They are scripted. The first 15 plays of the game are scripted. Do you know how I know this? Because I fucking hear it pour out of his stupid fucking mouth every single week. Oh, well, we followed the script and executed, and it just didn't work out for us. The other team played better. The defense played us right. Stop with the bullshit excuses. It's bullshit. If I'm not raising the gross of my store 20% year over year, do you think I can say the customers were just better than me this month? Then you can't keep doing that. Mailata is such a proof positive of how fucking poorly ran this team is. I'm going to make a statement that's going to piss off a lot of people. The only difference between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys is the color of their fucking uniform. They are ran by the same hierarchy, by the same egotistical, maniacal owner that wants to have say. Why is Howie Roseman still here? Because Jeff Lurie has a ton of input on the outcome of the player personnel of this team. That's the end of it. It's the same reason why Jerry Jones is still so involved in that franchise in Dallas. He wants to be the guy because his ego is the size of the fucking Hindenburg. Jeff Lurie's the same guy. Get mad. I don't care. Fuck you. You're wrong if you think different. If you see this product week in and week out and the decisions that are being made and disagree, I challenge you. Message me, email me. You have my phone number, text me. I'll bring you on to this show, and I want to hear you eloquently tell me why this team isn't the same dumpster fire that we've watched in Dallas for years. You don't get to say Super Bowl in 17 because every person that made a difference in that game and that year is gone. They're not here anymore. They let them go. Jordan Mailata should have been the left tackle for this team from week 1 till now. Would it make a gigantic difference in the outcome of the record? Probably not. Because again, you could get
next year.
I think you said on Sunday, you could put Julio Jones and Devontae Adams on this team, and they can't fucking win.
Yeah.
But you're developing that player. He's getting live game time, and we're not talking about a 22nd overall pick that played 4 years in college and since 8 years old. This guy just started playing football when he was drafted here. Give him the time. Ridiculous. The run to pass ratio and their opposites are the reason why I have given up on this team for the last 6 weeks. I have, because I see, Aaron, we watch game in and game out. Miles Sanders averages 6 yards a carry. We see the statistic flash up on the television. Is Miles Sanders underrated? Is Miles Sanders underused? Because of the numbers he does put up. And then we watch Carson Wentz, who has every attempt in the world, 45 fucking passes a game, completing 48% of his passes because Doug wants passing. And again, another point. I only wrote down 14. I know you said about 17. 11 of the points that we just discussed, all root back to this fucking coaching staff leading into Deuce Staley. Would Deuce Staley have done better with this team? Maybe, maybe not. It's a bad divisional year, and we know that you're going to win with 7. If Deuce Staley were calling these plays, I bet you Miles Sanders gets used a lot more. I bet you the screen game is adapted. And I'll tell you what Deuce does and why Miles Sanders and Boston Scott get 60-yard fucking runs, because Deuce watches the defense and Deuce adapts his plays to what he sees live time on the field. And I don't care who you are. Show me how Deuce isn't a better option than Doug. Because just like the 10 worst quarterbacks, I'm going to let you talk in a sec, last point. Just like the 10 worst quarterbacks who 10 out of 10 I'd pick over Carson, I might say I'd rather Adam Gase here than Doug Peterson just to have a different fucking voice. Matt Patricia, I don't care. Give me all the burnouts. Put them on one staff, and it'll be better than this because at least there would be some accountability.
So another point with Deuce, just to bring that up, he coaches the running backs. And can you actually, for the life of you, name a year where we haven't pretty much overproduced at the running back position, given what we've had since LaShawn McCoy left? I mean, every
year you could make an argument for, but you brought in a burnout running back.
Yeah, I mean, every single year there's been like Corey Clement, the Super Bowl year, coming out of nowhere and making big plays.
A guy in LeGarrette Blount won you a Super Bowl, bro.
You took
those guys. They're gone.
Everybody thought Darren Sproles was done when he left the Saints, and he gave us a couple productive years. I mean, every year there's Boston Scott shouldn't even be on an NFL football field, but Deuce Staley's developed him to a point.
Dude, Wendell Smallwood, another guy. Look at what they make. You talk about quarterback factory. You're not a fucking quarterback factory. You have one of the greatest running back coaches in probably the history of the NFL, and you have overachievement at that position every single year.
Yeah. And just for Doug Peterson made a mention, Justin, we'll take a quick break after this and get into another topic. He had mentioned that when he was asked about the struggles of the offense, it was the same, we've had injuries all year. There's not really any continuity. There's other teams in this league that have had a lot of injuries, have had a lot of guys on the COVID list. One I want to point out is the San Francisco 49ers. Who obviously have a better coach. I wouldn't even call their quarterback over the span of his career. He's not better than Carson Wentz. This year, he's better than Carson Wentz, but not a ton. Nobody's going to say Nick Mullins and Jimmy Garoppolo are like that much better than Carson Wentz is. But yet, this team is respectable. They play good defense, and they're 5-6 in a division with the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Seahawks. It's just about, at this point, you want to put a respectable product on the football field for the people and the fans that have been supporting the football team for as long as they have and gotten one Super Bowl out of it. It doesn't make any sense why these guys can't just go out there and win their matchups. And I see it all over the field. We talked about Rager. We talked about Ward. Fulgham didn't get a target. Hold on, I have this. Fulgham was targeted for the first time in the fourth quarter, and he's been your guy.
With 13 minutes left on the clock.
Didn't get a target. Alshon Jeffrey's on the field. Rager's running upfield. I know the problems with the football field. I get it. It's not just Carson Wentz. Anybody thinks it's just Carson Wentz. But even with those circumstances, the coaching and Carson Wentz have been last in the league. Gase doesn't have a lot of talent. I can throw him under the bus. He's the easiest person to throw under the bus. The Lions will always be the Lions. They're jokes of franchises. This is not necessary. We were a running joke in regards to Super Bowl wins, but we made the playoffs almost every year for the last 20 years. We've won the division at least 60% of the time for the last 20 years. So it's not a joke. It's not like the Lions are going out there every year and winning the division. The Jets aren't doing that either. So we can take these coaches and throw them under the bus. Peterson's been just as bad. We'll take a quick or worse. We'll take a quick break, and I want to talk about the almost unmatched at this point Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll talk about that in just a sec.
All right, bro. We'll be right
All right, we are back. So, real quick, a couple things. I want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. And before we do that, Steelers Ravens tonight. Steelers are um, Steelers are giving 10 points at home, and the over/under. Robert Griffin will be making the start for the Ravens, and Gus Edwards will be the starting running back. The last matchup was won by the Steelers 28-24. I believe it was week 8.
You said the line was what, -10?
10. Yeah.
This is still as easy as it was to me on Sunday, bro. How is this Ravens team going to compete with this Pittsburgh team? I don't see it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick the Ravens. 10 points a lot. Also, given that they won the last matchup, and I like to, rivals to split season series, but without their starters, and they rely on the run, and all the runners are not playing tonight.
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand. Unless Robert Griffin, Jeff seems to think that Robert Griffin is going to blow out these Pittsburgh Steelers tonight.
I hope it's because he's so scorned because Robert Griffin maybe did. We don't know yet. Almost ruined his Washington football team.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wants to see him succeed. But real quick on this game before we get into the Kansas City Chiefs, dude. Why the fuck are we playing this game? This is such political posturing to keep the undefeated team undefeated, to not push something off to the end of the season to find out. This is fucking ridiculous. If Pittsburgh was 9-2, this game would have played. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. They want a story. They want a story, yeah.
If we weren't in such dude, the virus rates across the country are skyrocketing. All the stadiums, for the most part, have now shut down to fans entirely again. I think they're scared, so they want to make sure that they get these games that are compelling out.
Sure.
But fuck, man, you're going to listen, and I get it. On Sunday, you made the Denver Broncos play with no quarterback. But guess what you did? You made them play on Sunday. First, you move it to Monday. Then you move it to Tuesday. Now it's fucking Wednesday. We're a couple hours away. What happens at 2:30 when another Raven tests positive? We're going to make it fucking Friday so they play again on Sunday? This is ridiculous, dude. Fucking stupid.
It doesn't make any sense to me. You put COVID protocol in place and let more people on the roster and the practice squad for these situations, and now you're catering to the league's undefeated team to create and push a storyline. We'll see what happens.
A bottom 5 team had to play a top 5 team with a wide receiver at quarterback, and they played.
I hope the Ravens win by 20. So, breaking news real quick too. Not that we expected anything different, but this leads me into the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'll tell you why. LeBron James agrees to a 2-year extension with the Lakers. 2 years, $85 million.
Is it a 1+1?
He had a player option for this 2021-2022 season, which could have made him a free agent next summer. And this summer he's it's a 2-year contract, not a 1-and-1. He's guaranteed $44.5 million for the 22-23 season, which I will tell you why. And we all knew that was going to happen. It's no surprise. Brings me to the Kansas City Chiefs, because I feel the same way this year about the Kansas City Chiefs in football as I did all year about the Los Angeles Lakers. And my thing was I watch these teams, and I don't know if other people can see it, if they're delusional because they're fans of another team, whatever the situation is.
Definitely that one.
Barring Patrick Mahomes' health, is there a team in the NFL that is going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs?
Are you asking me to make a prediction, or are you asking me if I think it could happen?
Not a prediction, because I know what we're both thinking.
I don't know if you know what I'm thinking.
Okay, tell me.
All right. So here's how I think, right? I don't disagree with your assessment of the comparison of KC and the Lakers. I get it. Totally makes sense to me. Line by line down that roster, who does compete? But this is football, not basketball. Basketball is a little
one game.
Right. And beyond the one game, even if we had a weird 2 or 3 game tournament series, football is much more difficult to predict because there's so many moving parts on both sides of the ball. I think that there are 2 teams that stand a chance of a catastrophic, and I cannot put enough emphasis on that word, colossal, catastrophic, heartbreaking loss the Kansas City Chiefs would have in either the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. I think there's a team in the NFC and I think there's a team in the AFC that could do it.
Okay.
The team in the AFC is the easy choice to me, and it's only because I don't know what the fuck is in the water. And I know that, please, for the love of Christ, I don't want to get into a 20-minute argument with you about level of competition and the current record. I get it. But I also see the execution of what they're doing. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a problem this year for everybody. You cannot take it away now. Again, the level of competition I get. But even with that being said, the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Oakland Raiders. Should they have done that? Las Vegas. Fuck, I do it every time. Should they have lost that game? No, but they did. It happens to these good teams. It's not happened to Pittsburgh. That needs to be said.
Yeah.
As for the NFC, I know that we entered this season with an ideological perspective on how it ended. Whether we think this forefront of the brain or not, once I say it, everybody's going to get it. Aaron, where is the Super Bowl being played this season?
Tampa.
The reason why Tom Brady went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was because, A, he wanted to live on a beach, and I get it. It's wintertime in Pennsylvania right now. Fuck this cold.
Boston, yeah.
I get it. I get it. But the bigger thing is Tom Brady wanted to win a Super Bowl on his team, on his home turf. It's a thing. Yeah. And a lot of people talked about it at the beginning of the season, and it's kind of dropped off because they've underachieved dramatically. I think that if Bruce Arians finds a way to get 15% more cohesion in that offense, they're going to be hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
The reason why I name them the threat to the Chiefs, their defense is a league better than what Kansas City has. And Kansas City's not bad. Tampa Bay's that good. Their pass rush is incredible. They have good corners. They have good defensive backs. They are probably, I don't care what fucking PFF and NFL.com says, they're probably the second or third best defense in the league right now. The Colts are up there. There's a couple teams up there that are in that bunch of five. Right. Tom Brady's the guy that has shown you that given the moment, he can accomplish it. So if the cohesion exists, I think that's the threat in the Super Bowl, saying they make it that far. If any other team comes out of the NFC this season, I don't believe any of them can compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. And on top of that, I also don't think that they're going to be able to compete with the 14-2 or 15-1 Steelers, whatever they end up. I don't see that happening because the NFC is just too weak right now. Seattle's defense, imagine, bro, let's put Seattle and Pittsburgh on the field right now together. That's not even a close matchup.
No.
Russell Wilson's down 21 points in 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're the two guys that I look at. I look at the Steelers in the AFC because they're showing us, and I look at the potential that the Bucs have. I want to believe it. I don't see it. We've talked about Tom Brady has lost more than a step. Tom Brady looks very 0 for 22 in deep balls. He looks very bad. But if they were able to make it work at the right time, they could accomplish beating a team like the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I think the Steelers would be the easy answer. And I kind of want to see how they do the rest of the year. I feel like I'm being a hater with not believing a 10-0 team should and could beat the Kansas City Chiefs and beat 10-0. I want to see them rout some good teams because KC routes some good teams. But at the end of the day, the reason I don't think the Bucs can get there is just because they got thrown together this year. Gronk's a year removed from football, still trying to get his legs back. Antonio Brown just got inserted in the lineup, and the other wide receivers can't stay healthy all the time.
And you're also talking about the rest of that position group, bro, have never had a real quarterback down there. Like it was Jameis Winston. So they're also learning the right way to play football for the first time.
They're not just running deep, and Jameis is just throwing the football down the field. It's not that he can't, though, because we're still talking about Tom Brady. I don't care that he's 42, 43 years old. If he gets into the playoffs, you better take them seriously. So my train of thought was they'll have to get taken out by a team in their conference. Because I don't think the NFC teams are strong enough. I think the Packers don't know how to play smash mouth football, and Kansas City can any given game. They're not threatened by teams that do that. They can also play finesse football. So you're going to have to find a team at that time, because remember, teams get hot going into the playoffs as well.
I'm really interested in where you're going with this.
At the time is a good running football team, has a above average, really good defense, and just a capable QB who's not going to turn the football.
You're not going to say it. You're not going to say it. You're not going to say it.
So let me go one by one here. The top rushing teams in the league right now are Cleveland, Tennessee, Arizona, New England, Baltimore, in that order. Okay. We know New England, it just gets thrown out of the equation because they're not even going to be in the playoffs. Green Bay, by the way, is 10th. On points per game on offense, on defense, Steelers are the best team at holding everybody, followed by Miami, Baltimore, Rams, New England. Again, throw New England out, throw the Rams out. We know it's not Baltimore simply because Lamar Jackson is the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, right? We just know that he can't do that. So he would have to have one of the most – if Baltimore was going to take this team out, Lamar Jackson would have to play out of his mind. So I'm not picking Baltimore. There's a team right outside that top 5 in almost every category that we
before you say it. All right. I had to write down the 2 that I think you are, and I just want to see if I'm on the same page.
So you're probably thinking Tennessee. I'm not thinking Tennessee because their defense is worse this year than it was last year.
I'm thinking Tennessee, but I know you're not, and it's what scares me.
So this is a team that we both picked at the beginning of the year, though.
No, don't do it, dude. Please don't say it.
The Colts.
Oh, my God.
Listen. Hold on.
Oh, my God. You didn't just tell me that the Indianapolis Colts could dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hold on. The Colts have a star at every level in the same way almost Pittsburgh does. DeForest Buckner's on the line. Darius Leonard's the best linebacker. I'm sure you did. Yeah, I know you wrote.
I knew.
So I know the problem with the Indianapolis Colts, right, is that Phillip Rivers is – so you're talking about Tom Brady can take them. They're pretty much the same quarterback right now, okay? I know he's Tom Brady, but Phillip Rivers has been playing on the Chargers his whole career.
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown.
I understand. 7th in passing yards, 8th in rushing yards, top 3 defense in the NFL. If you're going to tell me that there's a team – that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs, it has to be slowing them down on the defensive side of the ball and having one of the good games they've had on the offensive side of the ball. You can put your face in your hands all you want, but all season, aside from a couple games, the Colts have been able to score some points. 28 on the Vikings, 30. We'll throw the Jets game out. 36 on the Jets, 31 on the Bengals, 41 on the Lions, 34 on the Packers, 34 on the Titans. They can run up the score on some of these teams. So to think that they can't perform on the offensive side of the football and have a good run in the playoffs, I think we'd be ranking them too low.
I'm not saying that they're not going to have a good run in the playoffs, but you can't put them in the same conversation as Pittsburgh, even, bro. Like, you can't. Listen, I'm with you. We both said that Indianapolis was the dark horse. Like, we both agreed on that months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
what's changed?
Phillip fucking Rivers, bro.
You know what Phillip Rivers was?
No, we didn't know how bad Phillip Rivers is. And I don't mean bad because, again, statistically, he's holding his own. He's doing okay. I'm not trying to – this isn't shit on Phillip Rivers' show. But, bro, how do you think that team – like, let's just look at KC in Indianapolis, right?
Uh-huh.
Look at the players on both sides of the football. Mm-hmm. I don't even need to other than whose defense is better. It's easy. I don't care what the statistic tells you. Indianapolis's defense looks great and performs well, but then they play good teams like Tennessee and get their fucking teeth smashed. I don't care how many points Phillip Rivers scores. He lost the game. And when you play the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what the name of the game is. You have to stop them, and they don't stop them.
But as you said, that's the beauty of football, that any given Sunday, a team like Tennessee can go in and kick the Colts' teeth.
It's not a team like Tennessee, bro. The reason why I wrote down Indy or Tennessee when you started talking was because the points you were making are those two teams. They're not Pittsburgh. They're not Kansas City. They're not even Seattle right now, right? Like everybody's picking Seattle to come out of the NFC.
I hate Seattle for
I'm
a while.
with you 1,000%. I agree. But who else are you going to pick to come out of the NFC right now? There's not another best team. So it has to be by default. Indianapolis and Tennessee are on the same plane, which is 3 or 4 steps below Kansas City and Pittsburgh. They're good teams. And yes, if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, Indianapolis could win that game. If Tyreek Hill blows his ACL in the first quarter, Indianapolis can win that game. But if two teams are fully healthy, I said Tom Brady and an undefeated Pittsburgh team. And you said Phillip Rivers, Indianapolis Colts.
Also, and again, another reason that I don't like the Bucs, and I can make a case for the Bucs just because they have Tom Brady. I think Bruce Arians has done a horrible job coaching this year. So to expect anybody to go like through the NFC with a coach that isn't coaching well and a coach and quarterback that aren't on the same page in Week 13, I don't see that. I don't like the Packers. But I take Aaron Rodgers and the Packers all day over the Bucs team because there's continuity on offense. And that's really what it is.
I get where you're coming from, bro. Again, man, Indianapolis is too far. Let me put it to you like this, right? I'm going to give you a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, all right? If what are we on? We have 10 games played. We got 6 left. 11 games played. We got 5 left, right?
We got 11
games played. We have 5 left. If Indianapolis wins 4 of their next 5 games, I will agree with you. Not because I don't even know who their next 5 opponents are.
Schedule. It's a tough schedule.
I don't even know who they are. That part doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
If Phillip Rivers is the leader and Frank Reich glues that shit together where they go 4 out of 5 going into the playoffs with a head of steam, what I will concede to you is if the coin falls the wrong way, it could fall in favor of that team. Not that they'll outplay them. It will be a Tennessee-Indianapolis game. It'll be a 38-34 win, but in reverse. Because as far as I'm concerned, a couple of plays go wrong for Tennessee and right for Indianapolis. That score's inverted, and Indianapolis wins that game. Mm-hmm. That's what could happen, saying what has happened. Because remember, 4 weeks ago, what did we say about the Colts? We were out, and now they're back again. The consistency hasn't been there. If that continues, I can see a trifle, a smidgen of validity in the Colts could be the team.
So let's build a little bit too, though, on the Titans because they're a little more quick strike on offense this year because Tannehill's been having a pretty good year. He's not as hot as he started off to be. I mean, we were talking about him in the MVP conversation through the first 6 weeks. He was incredible. Falling off a little bit, and now you see the running game starting to take over, and Derrick Henry's winning some football games. He's been great all year. Nothing's changed, but they've leaned on him a little more going into the late games. The problem with their team is on defense, they just haven't been the same team as they were last year. But Mike Vrabel is still the head coach, and they still have a lot of the same players.
But they fell off a cliff.
Defensively, so if they want to compete with a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to have to try to outscore them while running the football. Like Tannehill's not going to outduel Mahomes on his best day. It doesn't matter.
No, so what you hope for Tennessee, and I don't like them as the dark horse pick anymore because of how bad that defense been. But what you assume if Tennessee were to be David to the KC Goliath, Tennessee owns the clock. That's it. So every single drive that you have takes 6, 7, 8 minutes.
It's never mattered though. I
know. I don't
never work with Kansas City
because no matter how many times you give them the ball, they score every time, and that's why. Because they are that good, and that's not just Andy Reid. That's not just Patrick Mahomes. That's not just Tyreek Hill. That's not just Kareem. What the hell is that kid that they got now? That running back that came out that looked fucking unbelievable. That came out of nowhere. Edwards-Helaire. It's all of those things together, which it seems like Kansas City over the past 3 seasons has had better than any other team in football. Like maybe the Eagles in 2017 did it a little bit better, which is why they won the Super Bowl, where every single piece, every star in the fucking universe aligned and everything worked well. Yeah. It seems like Kansas City has done a better job at making sure the scheme They put round pegs in round holes and square pegs in square holes and find a way to make the rounds and the squares play together rather than forcing a scheme on a guy that's not that guy. I mean, again, Tyreek Hill just had 270 yards receiving. How does that get overlooked? That motherfucker had 200 yards in the first half. That's how good that team can be. So I don't disagree. That's why I don't pick Tennessee. I have to pick a team that can score with them, and it's just not a power run team.
Now, last point I want to make, and it's the other team that kind of popped into my head.
Oh shit! There's another one. It can't be any worse than the Colts.
No, it's not. I don't believe in them. I just want to talk about them because we've seen them win games that they don't really deserve to win this year. Now, if they even get into the playoffs at this point, because I think they're third in their division. But the NFC doesn't have strong wild card teams at this point, and they could. I'm talking about Arizona, mostly because it seems like there's teams on certain years. We've been watching the NFL for a decade or more. There's teams certain years that they get hot in the playoffs, but all year they've won games that they were out of or just weren't supposed to win, and they seem like every close game goes their way. If Arizona makes it into the playoffs, and let's say they rattle off, like you said, 4 out of the next 5 games. I think their schedule is It's Rams.
Well, we know they're going to win one of them. We know they're going to win one of them.
Yeah, so that's 2 wins right there. If they get the third one, they're probably in. Is Arizona any type of threat, in your opinion, in the playoffs?
I mean, Arizona could come out of the NFC, bro. I think Arizona's a team that could knock off Seattle. NFC. Right, that's my thing, bro. Like, Russell Wilson is head and shoulders the best quarterback of the NFC this year. There's no doubt about it. But his defense is so bad. Again, if Arizona has all of the cards fall the right way and all the stars align, that's a team that could beat Green Bay, Seattle, Tampa Bay, whoever it might be. I mean, obviously Washington, Philly, the Giants, whoever makes it out of this division. I mean, that's a dub for whoever draws them.
Yeah.
But like, I like them, dude. Like, I like Kyler Murray's progression. I know that we've seen, I don't want to call it a setback in him this year, but we've definitely seen him kind of go through the normal grind quarterbacks do, which Kyler Murray never really seemed to do.
We set the bar really high for him this year, and he's still learning.
I think about that, and I feel like that we looked at the potential, which is why we said sleeper MVP pick, and I think it was unfair pressure. Like, it was early for him to even be considered there, but we also just came off Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Like, there was precedence to understand why, but Kyler is a quarterback. He's tremendous with his legs, but he is a good quarterback. And Kyler Murray, as a quick side note that we'll talk about in a future episode, Kyler Murray played in the same offense and learned the same scheme as Jalen Hurts did. Just saying, just putting it out there, just letting you guys know who he's compared to, just so you understand. Yep. Kyler Murray, I think, is a guy that if he gets it together and the big moment shows and he shines, absolutely. Here's the thing, bro. Arizona, Green Bay, Seattle, and Tampa Bay, right? Let's just say those 4 teams. Any one of them could take the NFC. It depends on how well they execute that week because not one of those teams is head and shoulders above the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, too. There's some teams out there, man, that are really missing their home field advantage.
Oh, my God.
Especially, I mean, the Eagles are missing it. Seattle
Let me ask you a quick thing, bro, because we got to wrap up fast. Yeah. I know. If there were 70,000 people in the stadium right now in Philadelphia, do you think that Doug Peterson would be more inclined to trot Jalen Hurts out for a series just to get that reaction, that spark? A backup comes in, the whole stadium goes nuts. I heard that question the other day on the radio and was like, that is a real thing, dude.
But the flip side of it is if there's fans at these games, the pressure mounts so much for these guys. Like, they would have been calling for it all season since the second or third game, and that just puts more pressure on the offense and the franchise. There could be a good effect from that, or there could be a bad effect. I've seen a negative effect from it, and the fans aren't even there. Imagine if the fans had been in some of these games in the first half.
My God,
not saying they would have played the same way, but they would have got booed off the field.
Hey, 8 out of the soft-ass Carson Wentz would have definitely walked off the field.
Dude, yeah. So that's all we got for you guys today. We'll be back on Sunday. Baltimore's playing Pittsburgh tonight. We'll break that game down. I don't know if there will be much to break down. Any closing thoughts, Just?
Not a ton. Pay attention for our Thursday night football picks. We'll get those up on the Facebook page today or first thing tomorrow morning. We had an awful fucking week last week, both of us. You did way better than me, and you barely made 500. Yeah. That's how bad last week was. Yeah. We picked a lot of the right winners, but the spreads fucked us almost every single time. Not a whole lot other than that, guys. Basketball's coming. It's this month. We're here now. We got a couple of weeks till the first tip-off. I'm fucking pumped about that. Baseball's talking about a 75 or an 80 game season now. Shit hopefully starts to roll back. And as Aaron said on Sunday, I'm going to leave you with this. Pray to whatever God you believe in. Hope to whatever fucking stars you pray to in the sky. That the Philadelphia Eagles lose every single game left on this schedule because they could end up with the second overall draft pick. It's possible.
It's possible. So we'll be back with you guys Sunday. You guys have a good rest of your day and follow Big Facts on every streaming platform and every social media platform, exactly how it's listed in this little box right here.
That would be the graphic, but there it is. That's cool.